Imagine standing in your sister's brand new mansion, marble floors gleaming under crystal chandeliers, while she raises her champagne glass and announces to a room full of relatives, "Yes, I'm forever in debt, but at least I actually own a home." Her eyes find mine across the crowd, and she whispers just loud enough for the people around us to hear, "Poor thing will probably rent forever." My hands are trembling, not from humiliation, but from the secret burning in my pocket. I pull out my phone, open the property deed app, and there it is, the $520,000 vacant lot right next to hers, purchased in cash, confirmed, and recorded. My heart is pounding so hard I can feel it in my throat, tears threatening to spill, but I blink them back. I rush over to my parents, thinking this is finally my moment, expecting pride, maybe even an apology. Instead, I met with uncomfortable silence and my mother's tight whisper, "Don't make her feel bad, Beta. Today is her special day." The gut punch hits when my father adds, "We invested $450,000 in her future. Let her enjoy it." That's when I realized their money bought her a house, but my silence bought me something far more valuable: revenge served ice cold. Let me take you back to where this favoritism started, because it didn't begin at her housewarming party. This had been brewing since childhood, a slow poison that I'd learned to swallow with a smile. Growing up, my sister was always the golden child, the delicate one who needed protection and investment. She got enrolled in the best private schools, while I was told, "Tum smato, government school seb hi kailogi." Family vacations were planned around her interests, her comfort, her needs. When she struggled with basic math, my parents hired expensive tutors and sat with her for hours. When I asked for help with advanced calculus, I was handed a library card and told, "Self-study setum ar strong bunjaugi." The pattern was unmistakable and relentless. Every achievement I earned was met with a casual nod, while her most average accomplishments were celebrated like Olympic victories. I remember getting promoted to senior analyst at my firm, a position that took years of grinding to reach, and my parents responded with a distracted, "That's nice, Beta." 2 weeks later, my sister passed her basic certification exam on the third attempt, and they threw a full dinner party in her honor. The justification was always the same: "She's weak, she needs encouragement. You're naturally capable, you don't need us." But capability and worthiness of investment aren't the same thing, and deep down, I knew it. So I built my life in the shadows of their attention. I worked a corporate job during the day and ran side hustles at night. I taught myself financial planning through free YouTube videos and library books. I sacrificed social life, sleep, and sanity to build an investment portfolio, while they poured everything into my sister's comfort. Their favorite lines became a soundtrack to my struggle. "Family comes first, and right now, your sister needs help. You're a scholarship machine, you'll figure it out. Be grateful you're so independent." Independence wasn't a gift they gave me, it was a survival skill I developed because I had no other choice. The breaking point came during what should have been a celebration. I had finally crossed the $1 million mark in net worth through careful investing in real estate, stocks, and a few smart startup opportunities. My portfolio was diversified, my cash flow was strong, and I was ready to take the next big step: purchasing a piece of land to build my dream home. I was so excited that I made the mistake of sharing my plans at a family dinner. I pulled out my laptop, showed them my financial projections, and explained that I had found the perfect lot. It was $520,000, and while I could buy it outright, a small family loan would allow me to keep my liquidity for the construction phase. I thought they'd be proud. I thought wrong. My father barely glanced at the screen before shaking his head. "Beta, we've already put $450,000 into your sister's house. We simply can't drop that kind of money again." My mother added in that infuriatingly calm tone she uses when delivering devastating news, "You understand, don't you? Your sister's dream would have died without our help, but you are managing just fine on your own." I felt my chest tighten, that familiar burn of being simultaneously praised for my strength and punished for it. The justifications kept coming like bullets. "We can't play favorites. You've always been the responsible one. She needed us more." But here's what they weren't saying. If I was so capable, so strong, so naturally gifted at building wealth, why did that mean I deserved 0% of their support? Why was my sister's average dream worth $450,000 of investment, while my exceptional success wasn't worth a single conversation about partnership? The answer was clear, and it was ugly. I wasn't their investment because I had already proven I didn't need to be. I was being punished for my competence, while mediocrity was being rewarded with blank checks and unconditional support. I'm not someone who goes looking for evidence of betrayal, but sometimes the universe has a way of putting the truth directly in your path. After a few weeks of that disastrous dinner, I was helping my parents clean out their attic, sorting through decades of accumulated paperwork and forgotten memories. That's when I found it, a leather-bound financial ledger, the kind my father used to keep before everything went digital. My hands shook as I opened it, and there on the first page was a header that made my blood run cold. House fund, sister, $150,000 down payment. I kept reading, page after page of itemized expenses, mortgage assistance payments, interior designer fees, furniture allowances, landscaping budgets, housewarming party costs. The total came to exactly $450,000, and at the bottom of the final page, written in my mother's writing, was a single line: priority, her dream home secured. There was no mention of me, no backup fund, no future plans, no acknowledgement that another child existed. I was a ghost in their financial planning, invisible and irrelevant. But I needed more confirmation, so I started paying closer attention. At a family gathering the following month, I overheard my father on the phone with his brother saying, "We put everything into her house. The other one is smart enough to handle life on her own." A few days later, my aunt let something slip during tea. "Your parents made it very clear years ago that major spending would go to your sister. You were always going to be the scholarship and self-made one." Each discovery was another layer of betrayal being peeled back. This wasn't just favoritism. This was a deliberate, long-term financial strategy where I had been categorized as the backup plan, the one who didn't warrant investment because I had already proven I could survive without it. I wasn't their daughter in those ledgers. I was a line item marked self-sufficient and then forgotten. In that moment of discovery, I made a decision that would change everything. Outwardly, I would continue being the agreeable, understanding sibling. I smiled at family dinners, congratulated my sister on her beautiful home, and never once let on that I knew the depth of their financial favoritism. Renting is fine, I would say when the topic came up. I'm not in a rush. Building wealth is more important than owning property right now. But behind the scenes, I was executing a plan so perfectly calculated that it still gives me chills to think about. I liquidated some of my lower performing investments and moved aggressively into high-yield opportunities. I consulted with financial advisors, real estate experts, and attorneys to make sure every move was legal, documented, and irreversible. Then came the masterstroke. I found out that the vacant lot directly next to my sister's house was for sale. $520,000, cash deal preferred, immediate closing possible. The location was perfect. It had better views, more square footage, and the potential to build a home that would make hers look like a starter property. I bought it in cash within 72 hours. But I didn't stop there. I began collecting evidence of every promise my parents had made over the years. Text messages saying, "Work hard and we'll support you when the time comes." emails with phrases like, "We invest in our children's future," recorded voicemails claiming, "We treat you both equally." I compiled it all into a digital folder labeled simply Plan B, My Land, My Legacy. I hired an architect and began designing a home that would be featured in magazines, a structure so stunning that it would be impossible to ignore. The blueprints showed a modern masterpiece with floor-to-ceiling windows, a rooftop terrace, an infinity pool, and landscaping that would block my sister's western view and eliminate her expansion possibilities. Everything was ready. I just needed the right moment to reveal it, and that moment was coming soon. The family barbecue at my sister's house, where she would undoubtedly brag about her $450,000 investment from our parents.
Me, some faces curious, others already preparing their sympathetic smiles for whatever small achievement I was about to announce. I pulled out my tablet and opened the file I had prepared. I want to thank Mom and Dad for teaching me the most valuable lesson of my life, that real success comes from what you build yourself, not what you're given. I turned the screen to show the property deed, my name in bold letters as the sole owner of the lot next to my sister's house. This is the $520,000 piece of land I purchased last month, in cash, right next door. I watched the color drain from my sister's face as I swiped to the next image, architectural renderings of a home that would make hers look modest by comparison. These are the blueprints for the home I'm building, 3 stories, 5,000 square feet, designed by an award-winning architect, estimated completion in 14 months. The silence was deafening. I continued, my voice steady and matter-of-fact. I built a portfolio worth over $1 million through investments, side businesses, and financial discipline. No family loans, no down payment assistance, no interior designer budgets. Just me, my laptop, and a refusal to accept that being capable meant being ignored. Then came the evidence. I pulled up screenshots of old messages, reading them aloud. "Mom, you texted me 3 years ago. We invest in winners, Beta. Work hard and we'll support your dreams." Dad, you emailed me. "Our door is always open for our children's success." But when I asked for help with this land, I was told the $450,000 was already spent on her. I let that hang in the air, watching as relatives who had been celebrating moments before now exchanged uncomfortable glances. My sister's face had gone from pride to guilt to something resembling panic. My parents looked like they wanted the ground to swallow them whole. Someone from the crowd asked the question I'd been waiting for. "Wait, they gave her $450,000 but nothing to you?" I smiled, and it wasn't a kind smile. "Exactly, and now I own the property next door, built entirely on my own merit, no family fund required, no favoritism necessary, just pure, self-made success." After the party, after the guests had filed out with their whispered conversations and shocked expressions, my parents asked me to stay behind for a private conversation. We stood in my sister's professionally decorated living room, the irony not lost on me that this confrontation was happening in the house their money had built. My father started with his usual attempts at justification. "You have to understand, we did what we thought was best for the family. Your sister needed more help." I cut him off, my voice colder than I'd ever allowed it to be with them before. "No, you chose her perceived weakness over my proven worth. You chose to fund her debt instead of partnering with my success. You chose favoritism and called it family values." My mother tried a different approach, her voice taking on that wounded tone she uses when she wants sympathy. "Why would you embarrass us like this, in front of everyone? This makes us look like terrible parents." I actually laughed at that, a short, bitter sound. "You embarrassed yourselves. I simply provided context. You spent $450,000 building her a house, while I built a $1 million empire alone. And now I own the lot next door, bought in cash with zero contribution from either of you."
My sister, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. "This feels like revenge, like you're trying to punish us." I turned to her and my response was measured and final. "This isn't revenge. Revenge would be petty and emotional. This is consequence. This is what happens when you mistake capability for lack of need, when you confuse independence with not deserving investment. That lot is mine, purchased with money I earned and invested wisely. The home I build there will have nothing to do with you, your debt, or their choices. It will stand as proof that your $450,000 head start meant nothing compared to my $0 hustle." I looked at my parents one last time. "Future family gatherings? I'll attend, but understand this. You will watch my success from the outside looking in, the same way I watched your investment in her from the shadows. You had a chance to be part of my victory. You chose her mediocrity instead. That choice is permanent, and so are its consequences. So, if you're watching this and you've felt the sting of family favoritism, if you've been told you're too strong to need support while watching resources pour into someone else's average dreams, I want you to hear this clearly. Betrayal cuts deepest when it comes from the people who are supposed to champion you unconditionally, but that betrayal doesn't define your worth. Their inability to see your value is their failure, not yours. Family shouldn't be a hierarchy of who gets invested in based on who complains the loudest or struggles most visibly. Real family means believing in someone's grind before the world validates it, supporting potential as much as obvious need, and never making a child feel like their competence is a reason to withhold love or resources. My parents spent $450,000 trying to build my sister's dream, and all they got was a daughter forever in debt and a family dynamic fractured beyond repair. I spent zero of their money and built a $520,000 property purchase, $1 million net worth, and most importantly, a sense of dignity that no one can ever take from me. That lot next to her house isn't just real estate, it's daily reminder that favoritism has consequences, that self-made success is permanent, and that the best revenge isn't volume or drama, it's quiet, legal, and absolutely undeniable achievement. If you're grinding in silence while others get handed opportunities, keep building. Document everything, protect yourself legally, and understand that their investment strategy doesn't determine your value. My sister will wake up every day and see my dream home rising next to hers, built without a penny of family money, standing taller and stronger than anything they could have funded. And that view will cost her nothing financially, but everything emotionally. To everyone who's been the capable one, the strong one, the one who supposedly doesn't need help, you deserved better. Build anyway, succeed anyway, and when your moment comes, make it so undeniable that silence is their only option. They bought her a house with their money. I bought myself an empire with my dignity, and between those two investments, only one appreciates forever. Hit that like button if family favoritism ever made you question your worth. Subscribe for more stories of people who turned betrayal into unstoppable success. And remember, the best payback isn't getting even. It's getting everything they said you'd never achieve and doing it without them. That's real power. That's permanent victory. That's the empire you build when you realize their approval was never the foundation you needed.